Hey, everybody. Welcome to our next installment of our summer Lunch and Learn series. My name again is Tanya from Women Grow, Director of Community. And we like to bring you these lunchtime events, especially because, maybe you want to learn while you lunch. And we have the opportunity to bring some really wonderful guests to come in and speak to you. So this segment is actually something I'm really interested in because labs and testing, something completely foreign to me, but something in cannabis that I've always found the importance of and really am curious about. So we were able to grab some great leaders in the industry to come and talk with us today. So today we have Leah D. Jacoby from Talent Analytics. We have Dana Radzicki from Dope Diagnostics, and we have Jill Carrero from Orange Photonics. I'm going to bring up our guests so we can jump into our chat and they can introduce themselves. Hello, ladies. How are you? Thank you so much for joining me today. How's everyone today?
Doing great. Power to you for getting all of our names pretty right.
I'm hoping I got. I know I had asked Dana before. Leah, did I do it justice?
You did, yeah.
Jill, was I okay?
I usually am the hardest, so when you pull those out, I was like, wow.
All right. It is important to me because I have been called Tanya way too many times, and it is Tanya. Thank you very much. So happy Thursday, ladies. Thank you again for joining me today. I want to give everyone the opportunity to introduce themselves. So I'm going to do like what seems clockwise to me. Dana, you want to jump in and introduce yourself?
No problem. Thank you. And thanks for putting this on today. I appreciate it. So my name is Dana Radzicki. I'm the lead technical director of Dope Diagnostics in Rockland, New York, Rockland County. Sorry, Tanya, brief, is that it, the intro or background? I missed that part.
Just, say hi, your title, and then we're going to jump in and a little bit maybe about Dope Diagnostics.
I think I summed it up. So we're in Rockland County.
Okay.
We're a testing laboratory. I'm lead for technical. So that means anything on the testing side is my jam. And I've been with Dope for a little over a year now. So,
fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jill?
Definitely one of the coolest lab names I've ever heard, as I noted earlier.
Absolutely.
So good. I'm Jill Carrero. Hey, everybody. I am the vice president here at Orange Photonics. If you don't know who we are at Orange Photonics Light Lab, there's my favorite little ornament. Light Lab is a portable HPLC. So that's essentially chromatography in a 13-pound box, fit for purpose chromatography. So it's trained to be the chemist in the box and help operations do potency analysis of everything from their fresh, beautiful baby plants all the way to finished products, have those numbers internally so that they can use data to make operational decisions, where a lot of the work that these ladies do has a lot to do with compliance and regulation. So that's how we fit into the picture. And Light Lab is, there's Light Lab.
I love it. Thank you. And I have experience with that Light Lab, so I love it. Awesome. So let's move on and we'll jump into Leah.
Hi, I'm Leah D. Jacoby. I'm the lead technical director at Talent Analytical. We're a third-party testing lab in Long Island, New York. And kind of like you guys mentioned, we do the compliance testing for products here in New York State, as well as any R&D testing our clients need to.
Fantastic. Very cool. All right, so let's jump in, because again, I don't know that industry at all. I don't know. I think I met Leah through my friend Allison, but who worked for an MSO and how I met her there. So I don't know too much about it. But how did you come into this industry? Like, how did you land in the cannabis testing and laboratory world? And I'll start with Leah.
Sure. So I went to college for chemistry. So having that background was really like my foundation for getting into cannabis testing. I was always interested in the testing side of chemistry. There's, a million different things you could do with chemistry degree, but I always really liked working with instruments when I was in school. And out of college, I got my first job actually at one of the MSOs.
Cool.
As a processing technician, doing some of their internal testing, as well as a lot of formulation and packaging. And then from there, I kind of grew into this role at Talon. I've been with Talon for about 4 years now, where we kind of built the lab from scratch, buying all the instruments, designing the lab space, to making it a fully functional lab today.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for sharing.
Very cool.
Jill, how did you land at Orange Photonics?
Oh, it's very different in that I'm not a chemist. I'm an engineer. My background is with other technology companies. So I've been really lucky to be a part of a couple of startups that were really, really small. And after years of really hustling, were acquired by big, big scientific companies like Thermo Fisher Scientific, and the like. My role in those companies has always been what it is now, kind of a sales engineering, product engineer kind of role. I've always loved the plant. So historically in those organizations, I've worked with really cool, small, handheld, usually spectroscopy-based technologies, working with the pharmaceutical manufacturing kind of space, if you will. So the technologies that I helped kind of bring to the forefront in pharma were all about, hey, let's help that warehouse worker do the job of the chemist so that these pharmaceutical companies can apply science more and cheaper, really. But I always loved the plant, and I saw the cannabis industry growing, and it was tickling me. And I tried to make every technology I kind of had access to work. Lasers burn weed, go figure. But it was always chromatography. Everybody on this call knows that it's chromatography that's going to be the solution. And then one magic day, I swear, I just saw the orange box. I saw Light Lab in a LinkedIn ad. Yay, LinkedIn! And I was like, oh. I contacted Stephanie McCardle and Dylan Wilkes. Dylan was the inventor of Light Lab. They invented Light Lab about 5 years prior to that. And I was like, yo, please let me do this. Here's my blood. And now they say I bleed orange. And it is fully has been such a trip, because every single lesson that I learned in pharmaceutical manufacturing compliance, we are bringing it right into this space for the better of the consumer, the better of the MSOs, the little guys. That's what we stand for. And that's how I got here.
Exciting. Thank you so much. That was great. Dana, how did you end up in this field?
A little similar to Leah, a degree in cell and molecular biology. Wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I actually tried the sales route with like microscopes or other things, and that didn't really take off. And then there was a job opening for one of the largest MSOs that is privately owned in Orange County, New York. I applied, I got in there, and I was there for 6 years, and I just worked my way up the ladder. I started off as a scientist, and by the end of my tenure there, I was a quality control regional manager, overseeing 5 laboratories, building out their laboratories, training, working with the third-party labs themselves in each state and understanding their rules and regulations. And I really enjoyed it, getting to talk to everybody from different avenues of, well, this is how we test, this is how we don't, compliance, CGMP, maybe not CGMP, and watching everybody grow. So that's a little bit about my history.
I love it. Thank you. And you guys were saying words. Look, I'm a community person. Okay. I'm that spectra something or other, chromatography, cellular molecular bio. So that was your degree, cellular
Mhm.
molecular biology.
Yep.
And Leah, you said you're a chemist by education,
Yep.
and Jill, you're an engineer
A
by education.
bioengineer. So I did a lot of molecular biology too.
Bioengineer. Okay. This college dropout loves you guys. See,
Power to the smart ladies.
you don't have to be the best. You need to surround yourself with the best. That's how I operate. So thank you. That's amazing. Okay, so the question is, as women in the cannabis industry, what unique challenges have you faced, and how have you overcome them? And do you see this landscape in changing in your specific industry, in this cannabis laboratory and cannabis technology field? So it's a two-parter as far as challenges, and what do you see as those challenges being alleviated or lessened? And I'll start with Jill.
There's always challenges, right? Being a woman in any business, but I've worked in safety, security, and pharmaceutical industries, and I got to tell you, I only see it as opportunity to be a woman in this industry. I don't know, maybe it's because we all worship a feminine plant on the daily. I'll give it the credit it deserves, but I really do appreciate how much the feminine perspective is appreciated in the cannabis industry. There is still plenty of bullshit, plenty of this, plenty of dudism, plenty of space where I wish I had a flat brim and a sleeve. It would help me. But I also believe that on the whole, if you look at other industries, we're not doing that bad here in cannabis. Am I alone, ladies?
I
A
don't
real
know.
women owned company
say
too.
that.
So.
I definitely wouldn't say you're alone, and I think it depends on the role that you play in the industry. So, like, if you are a brand creator, like if you're looking for funding, not so fun. You know what I mean? If you have a skill set, and listen, honestly, the fact that you were able to go into the orange OP, as I call them, and be like, I should work with you, and that's how it is. I should work with you. You want me because I'm awesome. I mean, honestly, I did the same thing with Women Grow. I was like, I'm going to stalk you until you give me a job.
Yes, love it.
That's how, so, but that was a different role. So I think like there are there are incredible opportunities for women in space, and there are challenges around them. Like you say, we have to carve out a space for ourselves, is what I like to say. Is there definitely has to be a space to support women, even though like some of us are thriving, which is great. So Leah, what is your feedback on the question as far as any challenges that you might see and how they can be addressed?
Sure. So, I mean, I echo what Jill said, that we're really fortunate, I guess, in the lab testing sector, where I think women are taking on a lot of leadership roles in the industry, compared to maybe some other parts of the cannabis industry. Like, I've heard horror stories from women that go into like the trimming and grow houses, and the culture there. But in the lab industry, I think it is really woman forward. But I think we still kind of face a lot of the challenges that, as Jill said too, like you're going to face anywhere, especially as a younger woman in the industry. It's really hard to be taken seriously, in a lot of contexts, even, I guess just in boardroom meetings, and outside of the lab itself. I think that can be a challenge. How I've overcome it is just kind of really making sure I'm very educated on what I'm talking about. And I guess kind of displaying as much confidence as I can in what I'm doing. But it's honestly a challenge every day still, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, really
Dana?
good point. We're lucky in our little niche. We are exceptionally lucky.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dana?
I mean, Jill and Leah really hit the nail on the head. I would say my own personal, unique challenge would just be like gaining the confidence, right? Working in a processing facility with data and, prior to being with Dope, you deal with people who have been in industry, whether they came from pharma or they came from manufacturing, and you tell them that their formulation is out of spec and they're like, are you sure? Can you run that again? How many times did you run that? Would you have your controls? And so you have to kind of, as Leah said, be confident and then just make sure you know what you're talking about and you're reiterating things and maybe saying it different ways, until the light bulb finally clicks or until they maybe just walk away like, okay, or you're like, and then they give you a blind sample and you test it again and the output's still the same. And then eventually they're like, oh, Dana knows what she's talking about, but I think that's just a struggle in daily life with anything, right? Sometimes people don't want to hear that something doesn't work. But I think otherwise, right?
Absolutely.
That is, they possibly could get any better extraction going. Yeah, those kind of points of feedback are sometimes hard to hear.
And I think there always is a time where people just don't want to hear that from whoever's delivering the message.
Anyone.
Exactly. Right.
But to give you a counterpoint, I guess I say I have it lucky, but this shows my armor. I was recently at an event. I'm talking like 2 weekends ago. And it's at most cultivation type or extraction type events. It's going to be 20 to 1, right? 20 men to 1. And that's just fine. But when one of those men says, now I don't think you're a chemist, so you might not understand this question, without having one moment of conversation with me, when he knows I'm the one standing with the box, that's the level that kind of, that's the attitude that you do sometimes get. And Leah, I completely understand that vibe that you get. Sometimes you have to fake it till you make it and really overexert your confidence and your place, your right to have that space.
100%. So let's talk tech. So what are some key innovations? So I'm really glad to have Jill here too, because I'd never heard of that box situation before. What are some key innovations or advancements that you've witnessed in this cannabis testing methodologies during your career? And how do these contribute to product safety and quality assurance? So let's start with Dana, if you don't mind.
Sorry, it threw me off because I was thinking of her box first, the orange box, and I was like, wait, no. So key innovations and advancements from my perspective with testing, being a part of New York State since 2017, just methodology is changing, right? So say micro, for instance, it was only plating, and now we're getting into the qPCR. So that allows for faster turnaround.
Can we say what qPCR means? Because I don't know.
So it's quantified polymerase chain reaction. And so
I don't know even.
I'm gonna get there for you. I'm gonna try and break it down a little bit more. And Leah, feel free to chime in. And so ultimately, what you're doing is you're looking at things on a cellular level. So I like to think of like the city, right? The city's a grid. And you have different street signs, and we're going to maybe tag those street signs so that I know that at 54th Street there's a green tag, and if I get there, it's going to illuminate, and then it's going to quantify so that I can have a number associated with it. So maybe not the best analogy, but just kind of off the dome and thinking we might have people in a grid like a city area. So ultimately, it's allowing us to find a specific marker. So if we're looking for total yeast and mold or a mold, it's going to flag that mold, and then it's going to quantify that mold, and we're going to be able to get a number to the output. So that's what that instrument is ultimately doing, instead of the latter in the history where it was put it on a plate, put it in an incubator, wait 5 to 7 days. Did anything grow? What does the colony size look like? So it's adding more technology and a little bit more efficiency to the process. So, you're on mute.
And that on the back end is going to help patients as far as what they get in their packaging when they get their cannabis from the dispensary. Because back then we didn't have adult use, obviously. So we were testing for medical. Now we have adult use. So is there anything different in that realm for testing for medical and testing for adult use?
Since 2017, the regulations have expanded. So although we were not testing for recreational purposes, just like now we have residual solvent testing where there's about 70 different compounds we're looking for. You have pesticides, those compounds have grown. So as we're going into a recreational market, we are expanding the compounds that we're looking for all the compliance testing, whereas some of the other analytes that we were looking for, like microbials or things that they collected data for 5 years, and they say, well, we don't see botulism, so why are we going to test for this? Let's just remove it from the panel. So the state was able to acquire all this data, see what makes most sense, make sure that the consumer is safe, and then adjust their program as they've been expanding.
Okay, cool. Fantastic. Leah, what is your feedback on advancements per your vantage point?
So I guess one thing I've seen is some automation being implemented in cannabis labs, especially for pipetting, which is like how we measure out specific volumes of solutions to make sure we're getting a really accurate result. So we have like a little bit of automation implemented at our lab, and it's a lot of clinical labs have super automated labs where people barely touch the samples at all. Whereas a lot of the cannabis labs are very manual. A lot of that's just due to the nature of the product and how we have to process it. Like depending if we have a gummy or a flower, how we extract that's going to be a little bit different. But I think increasing automation in the industry will be really great because it can help, first of all, improve testing accuracy. A robot's always going to be a lot more accurate than a human sitting there pipetting 100 times a day. And ideally reduce testing costs for the industry, because I know that's definitely a huge sticking point with a lot of our clients and kind of getting us to a point where there's a really robust legal industry. So I think that's what I'm most excited about.
Oh, I think you remuted yourself there,
I
Tanya.
muted myself again. What is your feedback on advancements that you've seen, and as far as the contribution to safety, etc.?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, obviously I have kind of a unique perspective.
Right,
I will
right.
say, Dana, you brought up PCR. I always say, like, if you're going to do anything to up your game, light lab and PCR, bring in micro PCR. Like, there's so much that you can do to just up level. The ability of organizations, and I will say, like, I guess the biggest thing that I've witnessed just in my short time in the cannabis industry, just in a couple of short years here, is the readiness to say, yes, we get it. We get the value of the data. We get the value of the science. We get the value of the testing more than, 2 or 3 years ago. It was a lot less kind of accepted to talk about some of these, testing protocols, SOPs, ways that facilities can utilize data and utilize testing to their own benefit. I think there's just a readiness. I also see that there's way more collaboration happening and just open discussion around harmonization and what that means to the industry. Leah mentions how she has to use different methods and different protocols and the need for pipetting and automation. These are all things that add to the great confusion, the great lab shop around, the great picture of what is the cannabis industry testing space, which is kind of like the data has the cannabis industry by the cojones, versus the data having real value for the cannabis industry, like it does for farmer, like it does for food agro. So I think there's a shift happening here that I'm proud that, I think Orange Photonics is a part of. 5 years ago, there was a couple $100, now there's 1,000 boxes being utilized at fleet level. And because people are getting like, wow, if we use this data and we do downstream and upstream testing, we make better products, we save money. And I just think the shift towards like collaboration. We have lots of labs that we work closely with. Like, it's about layering in what you got to do, what you can do, being better. There's different layers for all of that. And the industry is just maturing. That's the best way to put it. Like, it's maturing around science and data and getting its crap together. And that's important.
And honestly, data alone, I think in the last 5 years on a large scale has just been data. That there everyone just wants data, information on how do I my client base, like from my vantage point, like how do I literally target who wants my services? It's data. Everything is data. That's why your cell phone, you talk about data, there's going to be 3 things on your phone right now the next time you pick it up talking about data recovery, data management services. So that is a big deal. So as far as you both, all 3 of you said that you feel like in your industry there is, yes, you have an advantage, or you feel like you're good in your spaces. But my question is that are there many women in this industry? Do you find, like, as far as diversity goes, is this an industry that there are a lot of women? And I mean, anyone can jump in.
I'll take it. I'll start first. When you look at, men versus women, no, there's definitely less women, right? And I think from holding a science title, I think we're even lower. So yes, there's women in the labs. I think it's very common across, pharmaceutical, the food industry. Are you going to have mainly women testing in the laboratories? Yes. But who's the lab director? Who's the compliance director? I mean, Jill's the VP. Like, that is amazing. And she's an engineer. Like, that to me is like, like
I was actually gonna bring her up because I know that she holds a different role. So
exactly.
Okay.
So for the point I guess I want to make and not take too long is, I think the hardest part as well is finding a mentor. As a woman and as a young woman in this industry, thankfully I had a mentor, but finding a mentor to take you to that next level, to be a future Jill, that's the gap,
Yeah.
because 1, finding the mentor, and then 2, just working yourself there. That's a whole nother project. So that's where I think diversity, we need either that or more support within the cannabis industry for women.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else want to chime in there?
Yeah, we have to find each other and connect each other and continue to support each other and build each other up. That's always really important. I have been really lucky to have awesome mentors. Honestly, mostly men. Mostly men. And I haven't been afraid to go, oh, that's how he acts and he wins when he does. I'm going to try that too. And yeah, you do get different pushback sometimes. And I think it's about really being authentic to who you are, no matter what. That's what this cannabis industry really allows us. That's a beautiful thing. But finding, like you said, working that mentor too, working those relationships, or finding little mini mentorships. Sometimes it's like, wow, I can learn that from that person. And they're peer level. I have people right now that they probably say they learn from me, but bull, I'm learning way more from them on the daily just by watching how they operate and grow their businesses. So I think that's a really important part of it too.
Absolutely. And mentorship is huge. Do you have access to them in your industry per se? Like, is there, some organizations have ERGs, but those are usually larger organizations. And listen, maybe someone could spearhead the Women in Cannabis Lab mentorship group, because literally that was actually one of my questions was, how can we encourage mentorship opportunities within your industry? I don't know, is there an ERG at any of the organizations that you've ever been a part of?
Previous lives, but I would say I kind of stand on the sale. Like, we're a sales organization too, right? We're having a lab discussion, and that's what I live and breathe every day. But if I was to offer mentorship, it would be mostly on the side of like how to be a badass sales driver. frankly, and how to grow a team and lead a team to believing and driving, a disruptive product. That's more. And if you want a mentor, guys, reach out. Here I am.
And you know what's so funny that you say that? I am a 30 years sales professional. And I promise you, when I got my role at Women Grow, I was a market leader and I produced monthly events. And I would have to go out and get sponsors to support some of the events that we did. And I promise you, there would be no way without my sales background that I would have been able to go out, because no never hurt me. So I mean, and the answer is no until I ask you. So it is one, and I'm going to circle back on you guys. It's something that I think is incredibly important, is that everyone have a little bit of sales training, just a little bit of sales training, because honestly, you get to sell yourself, which is really first and foremost what you will always be doing. Whether you're just starting, you got to sell yourself to get the job. When you're trying to move up the ladder, the reason why I think that a lot of women specifically don't get the money they want is because some people don't just ask. You have to ask the salary that you want. And then if they say it's a little too high, you're like, we'll roll back. But if we don't have that conversation, then, and I had a conversation with a colleague the other day who put out for a job. I'm like, what did you ask for? And she was like, what? I'm like, if you don't tell me what you're asking for, then I could be going up against the same gig, and I don't want to do that. But how do I know that I'm not undervaluing my services, or maybe I'm charging way more, and maybe you should up your, so that we can all be like competitive and we're not and it's a weird conversation to have, but I think that we really have to have it, because like
but how you support that conversation? Here's a great tip that I always give everyone. Every 3 months, you better make a short list of the stuff you did the last 3 months. Even if it's just hitting the goals that were set out for you by your boss, even if it's just showing up every day and doing your job, that's what you write down. But I bet it's more than that, because we're all doing more than that. And then you get there and you got that list of accomplishments. Oh yeah, that's how you sell yourself.
Yes, 100%.
Toot your own horn. You got to toot your own horn, man.
There's so many women here doing some amazing, amazing things just like yourselves. And I think that we're working, we're doing our thing, and then you don't get to realize the impact you have on, like right now, there are people that are watching this event, and this is going to live on our channels, so they will continue to be able to watch it. But in the comments right now is people just looking at, oh, I never thought about testing. I never thought about cannabis labs as a career. And they may be brilliant marketers, and they may be great salespeople, and they may not be. I'm not a technologist, engineer, or anything of that sort, but I'm a kick-ass salesperson. Like if I was looking for a job, I might be like, let me hit up Jill, be like, I'm a kick-ass salesperson. You might want me. That's how I roll. So it's like, I'm going to ask for it until you tell me no. You know what I mean? So you already are mentors. I promise you that, but someone's going to hit you up based on this conversation. So I just know that that's going to happen.
Feel free. We're here, feel free. Good, I would say one other thing about the mentorships is, if you're, like I said, I started to look into microscopes before I got into cannabis, right? My sales was at Coach. That was my only sales experience. And they were like, not good enough. I was like, okay, but I tried. And the point that I'm making is, if you're interested in a vendor, that sells equipment or works in the cannabis space, reach out to them. That's kind of how I met Dope, was through other vendors that I knew. Some of those vendors also put on seminars at colleges. If you're interested and you want to see what it's about, maybe they have hemp samples, you could really get some application there. So that's my advice.
Listen, follow Women Grow. Also follow everyone who's here, your socials, all the above. But we always have opportunities to spotlight situations like this. I'm doing something, the next Lunch and Learn we're doing is about cannabis hospitality. It's a woman who has a travel agency specifically for cannabis adventures. So, and
Love
they're
that.
bed and breakfasts,
I will be there.
so there's so many opportunities. So I think we have to talk about them. So this kind of segues into my next question. Collaboration and knowledge sharing are vital, right? How do you foster collaboration with your brands in lab and testing? And can you share any examples? I know I'm going to share one for Jill, but I'm curious, like, have you collaborated with any brands? What does that mean in your industry?
Again, we're unique in that we're always in collaboration with brands. Like that's our bag, right? Like, please take 20 boxes and put them everywhere. That's our thing. But when it comes to like collaboration is the heart of science. And frankly, this whole industry is in a place where we are missing what we could do for plant medicine as a whole because of the infighting specifically around testing and the lack of collaboration. Putting that aside, just talking about some of the collaborations that like we're most proud of, it's things like the work we've done with like Stephen Philpott. Dr. Stephen Philpott, I should say. He's from North Carolina State. He does some of the most amazing work on using scanning electron microscopy, super microscopes, to take super pictures of trichomes, right? Where all the good cannabinoids are on our plants. And he's basically using that information to say, oh, there's a whole difference between fat, short, stocky trichomes. And what does that mean for how these products turn out? What does that mean for how they test actually to the farmers that are held by that 0.3% number and they're hemp farmers? Does the type of trichome matter? And how does that relate back to the genetics? And how can we help hemp succeed as a huge agricultural product? But also, how can I help guys that want to make really fire hash rosin do a better job of it? Right? Like all of that. So we work really closely with him. We work really closely with the Smart Lab at Cornell, like in supporting their students in all of their huge work that they're doing. But because they have access to like technology that a student can just from day one just kind of get moving in their studies with, that's a big part of like the collaborative work with him.
Yeah. Anything with education, any collaborations with education, I am about it. I sit on the Cannabis Workforce Initiative board, and they're part of that Cornell family, and it's pretty exciting, And yeah. Dana, I remember when how we connected is I am really excited, and this is how Jill and I connected too. And Lee, I'm gonna hit you up eventually, so you might as well pay attention. I am a medical cannabis person. I'm a caregiver here in our state. I'm in New York State, and I feel like at a certain point in time, we need to be able to, now with home cultivation, be able to test home cultivation. If we were going to allow people to grow cannabis at home, where am I going to test it? Because I'd like to. I want to know if I'm making a product, if I'm a patient and I'm making medicine, or I'm a caregiver and I'm making medicine for my patient, I want to test my product. So it's a big deal for me to have that avenue. So that's how I ended up, I think with Justin, Jill, connecting with him, and our conversation with Jill, which is Dana's Jill. There's still too many Jills in this room right now. So
there are never too many Jills. I'm just gonna
never
say
too
that.
many. Never too.
Come on, there aren't enough Jills in the world. Come on, or Tanya's, not Tanya's.
Not Tanya's. Tanya's can be over there. But I think it's important. So like a collaboration that I like to do with, is with some of my like home cultivation brands, to connect them. And so Gia would want me to say, I also lead a community of women called the Cannadiva. And a lot of home cultivation happens over there. So we want to be able to collaborate so that we can have avenues for testing. You know what I mean? I don't know how it's going to be written out through the state, but we'll figure that out when we get there. You know what I mean? But that's a collaboration that I would love to see happen.
There are many states that require laboratories to accept home grows. Thank goodness. Just like all home grow laws, we have to support those laws. We have to support medical access and home grows and decriminalization. Just going to say those things out loud. Massachusetts labs, thank you. They accept samples. But yeah, it has forced a lot of folks to go, how the heck do I do this? And then you go to Maine and medical patients can't even get tested samples. So again, harmonization. We really need some harmonization.
Yes, actually we do. And then there's one. Did you have anything, Leah, you want to chime in on collaborations? Is Talon doing any cool collabs that you want to share?
Nothing specific, I guess, right now, but we do have like a good network. I've been fortunate enough to meet people from labs from different states, like especially Massachusetts and California, and they've been really good resources for me, just like help troubleshooting issues that we run into in the lab.
And to get you off the hook, I know that you are one of the leading testing facilities for New York State, as far as you're getting all this product to be tested that's going to be hitting AU and medical. So you're probably super busy. I can't imagine, because I know that there aren't many of you. I think they just approved a new one the other day. So I think they said now we're up to 15, if I'm not mistaken, testing facilities. And in a state of a billion millions, and a lot of those people are consumers and want to shop. I can't imagine all the AUC, the conditional cultivators that are dropping stuff off at your door. Must be kind of crazy. So
yeah, we're still waiting for the floodgates to open, but hopefully the 200 new dispensaries will open up the doors even more. But we've been kept busy with the current volume.
It's gonna be serious business in New York. I can't wait. All right. So as we start wrapping up, I want to do two things. If you were telling a woman who wanted to get into this industry some like a key, a tip, what would you tell them? And then wrapping up, we're gonna just ask people where to find you. And then we're gonna let everybody get back to their luncheon because they've done learning. So I'm gonna do again. This time I'm gonna go counterclockwise. Leah, we're just gonna say, if you could give a woman who wanted to get into this field a tip, what would it be?
I would say just shoot your shot. It's a new industry, so even if you think the experience you have might not directly transfer, a lot of skills that you have from your previous experience can be really beneficial to a cannabis lab. So I think just kind of put yourself out there, and even if you think you're not quite qualified, give it a shot. You definitely have some opportunities out there.
Thank you. Jill?
Obviously, love that answer. That's it right there. But do it in a way that levels you up. Get on the LinkedIn, give it some time.
LinkedIn is popping for cannabis.
Get on the LinkedIn twice a week and meet people, talk to people. It was weird when I went to my first cannabis events and I had a community already. That weirded me out big time. That was a first. In 20 years of doing this exact work, that never happened. And that's unique to cannabis. It's a community. And if you I love the plant, even if you don't smoke weed, please do, though. Please do.
Some should.
Yeah. Or eat your edibles. If you don't want, But join us and know it's getting way bigger, man. We're at the tip of the
only
iceberg.
The beginning. Literally. And I want to just piggyback on what Leah said. When you say shoot your shot, I mean, realistically, I have a colleague who does social media and a big brand is looking. She's like, I'm not ready. I'm like, you better send your resume because you do Instagram marketing for cannabis already. Send it. What are they going to
You better tell me her number, her LinkedIn, so I could just DM her some
don't play. I will. No,
I'm not playing.
She's really great, and I'm like, what do you? And if they say we'll hire you part time, or maybe you could start whatever, who cares? You know what I mean? So shoot your shot. You know, sometimes, like I say all the time, the answer is no until you ask. You know what I mean? You're gonna lose 100% before you try. You know. So, Dana, what's your feedback on? I don't even remember what I was talking about, but you know where I was. We're talking about
Advice for women
your
jumping
tip.
in.
What tip would you share to a woman in the industry?
You're confident women. We're all confident women, right? So just keep on going. You have your network here. You could reach out to any of us on this platform. And I think the best question that I got was like, do you think you're ready for it? And I don't think you're ever ready for anything. So I just like to jump in head first. And if with this this industry ever evolving and changing, I think most women are multitaskers. If you could, if you like that, you'll be fine. Just sell yourself, as Jill and Tanya said, and shoot your shot. Like, there's no you. What are they gonna say? No, thank you. And then you apply again.
You won't bleed. You won't break a bone. It might sting, but you'll get over it.
Great point, though. Capture the power of those soft skills that we have as women. Understand like how to sell soft skills in a way that has financial operational value.
100%.
They're hiring them for them. So if you say it, you know it. It's a trigger. Like, read some books on soft skills. That's another point.
Absolutely. And as we wrap up, tell everyone where to find you. If you want to share your email, that's up to you, or your social. We're going to go the other way. Dana, how can people reach out to you?
I could share my personal email. If you have any questions, you could find me on Dope Diagnostics webpage. Reach out. We're there if you need any help.
Thank you. And Jill?
Well, I'll start first by saying if you're here on YouTube, go over to Orange Photonics YouTube page. Like right now, we have a ton of cool videos, some people that are smarter than me, the guy that invented Light Lab, talking about stuff that you definitely want to know. Please follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Jill Carrero on LinkedIn. If you're on Instagram, I'm Jill Cannabis Nerd. So you can definitely check out what we do there. But Orange Photonics has some really cool stuff to learn from. So if you're interested in learning more about cannabis science and the industry and just the vibe of the culture, Orange Photonics OP is definitely a place to check us out.
What's up?
Okay. Amazing. And Leah.
2 more minutes. Okay.
Yeah, so I am on LinkedIn also, just as Leah D. Jacoby. Feel free to connect with me there. And then also on the Talent Analytical website, my email is posted on that. So if you email me, I'll also get back to you there.
Amazing. Thank you so much, ladies. This was so much fun. Dana, Jill, Leah, you guys are amazing. We're going to build a little lab mentor group, because I think there are going to be a lot of women that are going to reach out to you. And thank you again. And thank you to Rooted in Good, who was our sponsor for this summer Lunch and Learn series. We appreciate the support. And thank you all for being just fantastic women in our space. And I appreciate you.
Thank you, Tanya.
Thank you so much.
Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Happy summer, everybody.
Happy summer.
Nice meeting you, Jill.
You too, Dana. Bye, guys.
Bye.